What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday to you. We're here to chat about the Green Bay Packers, but funnily enough, with a Monday night game coming up for the Packers versus the Saints, this is like a Tuesday. It's an off day for the Packers. They get an extra day this week, but of course, we don't. We're here for you. But what that does mean is that there's really no injury news, or like LaFleur didn't have a press conference today. So we're going to get you updated on some of the other details surrounding the team right now. And normally, this is where we do the Packers injury report, but there are some things to be gleaned from the Saints injury report that are going to have a very large impact on week 16. So let's actually get started with the Saints injuries. What's going on there for week 16?
All right, starting out, we have Alvin Kamara, who has a groin adductor injury. Further tests are coming for him, so we'll see how serious that may be. Derek Carr will be out, and it is expected that Spencer Rattler will be starting for the Saints. And then Chris Olave is still on IR, as well as Rashid Shaheed and Taysom Hill.
Yeah. We talked about like going up against the Lions, how the defense was wrecked. For the Saints, the offense is up there, right? Because they also have Ryan Ramczyk, their normal like right tackle. He's out. They've got that list of guys on IR. Just yesterday is where we really got some news about this. So Ian Rappaport said that Derek Carr's hand injury, like the Saints, there were some rumors in the Saints world that like maybe he could come back. Ian Rappaport just sat on that yesterday and said like, no way, he's going to be out. So it looks like Spencer Rattler is going to be starting. At least that's what a lot of the New Orleans media side believes. And for what it's worth, this year thus far, Rattler's got 706 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. His latest appearance, of course, was last week against Washington when he came in when he was an astounding 10 of 21 for 135 yards. It's a 47% completion rate, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, no sacks, and an 84.4 QB rating. So I know when it came to draft time, there were a lot of people on this channel too who really liked Rattler, really wanted him as a developmental QB. We might get to see on Monday night whether that was actually a good want or not. So, and then in terms of Kamara, yeah, a groin adductor. It happened on basically his touchdown catch this last week. Darren Rizzi, the interim coach for the Saints, said that more tests were coming. It really, like from what I really dove into on the New Orleans side of things, it sounds like it's a long shot for him to play this week. But of course, a lot will not be known until later in the week, with it being a Monday night game. Big Al, what's up, Big Al?
Big Al saying, hi, Jon and Claudia. What do you think about Jeff Hafley's defense so far?
So, okay, I think it is a marked improvement over the product that we've seen the last couple of years. Like, let's just start there, okay? Because I don't want this to sound negative at all. The Packers are substantially better than they were. They're actually in the top 10 in the NFL in terms of yards allowed per game, both rushing and passing. They're, if you're a DVOA believer, they're in the top 10 of defensive DVOA. And when you adjust that for opponents, they're, I think, 6th in the NFL right now, per like last time I checked. So by a lot of those numbers, they're doing really well. Like, those are numbers that we have not dreamt of in the last couple of years. So I do think that it is a marked improvement. There are, of course, also some questions yet too, right? I think the run defense has gotten phenomenal. But in the pursuit of improving that run defense, they did a better job against Seattle. But before that, there was the holes in the middle of the field. Right? There's been the issue of the pass rush all season long. Do they have the right personnel to match with Hafley's scheme for the pass rush? I'm skeptical of that at best. So we might see that kind of revolutionized over the offseason. And then you get to the secondary, which has overall played really well. But then you get into the personnel question of like Stokes, why is he still playing? Versus Valentine, who's still in a rotation with him. So overall, huge improvement. I really like the schematic changes that they make. I like how exotic they get along the line. Perfect? No, not quite. Huge, absolutely huge improvement for Hafley.
Well, I think another thing that, we have seen is Jeff Hafley's reliance on Jair.
Yeah.
In how he schemes the defense, whether they are doing man versus zone. And so it's kind of hard also to judge. I mean, it is still Jeff Hafley's defense. It's his decision to change based on personnel. But from what we were expecting, I think a lot of people have been a little bit disappointed that we are not more aggressive. But we've also seen that Jeff Hafley's not willing to do that without Jair. And so I think it'd be really interesting whether it's Jair coming back, whether it's just different personnel in multiple different spots, to see Hafley do what he has traditionally done when he was, coaching college.
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that, needs to be kept in mind.
And that is a really, really fair point because, the numbers are out there. Ultimately, he does call a lot more zone when Jair is not on the field, right? And it just happens to be that those are the games where we all sit here and whine about, like, why are these completions so easy?
Why is Joe Barry back? Why is Joe Barry back?
And that's so much because of, you see clearly, even in the numbers and his play calling, how much he relies on Jair. So that's a really, really excellent point. Kind of with that, though, I do think Hafley has done a great job of adapting his personnel, right? So not having Jair there, all of a sudden he changes up what zone concepts he's doing, shuffling. The move from Keyshawn Nixon from slot to boundary has wound up being a revelation for Keyshawn.
Yes. And this is coming from two people who were not thrilled with Keyshawn's return, much less, a nice extension with some money in the bank.
Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, he's played much better at boundary corner than he did in the slot. And full transparency, he did just fine in the slot against Seattle. So, like, he's a much better corner now than what we had seen. So I do think, ultimately, Hafley's done a great job, and the defense is in a much better position for a playoff run than we've seen in probably a decade.
Yes.
So, and for what it's worth, since you bring up Hafley, I did see the rumor mill this morning. Teams are beginning to look for who their future might be. Apparently, Jeff Hafley's name has been mentioned in some of these rumors. I kind of thought it was coming, just not this year. So hopefully not.
First year in the NFL.
Well, and I saw someone say it online too, of like, if by some reason Hafley does wind up wanting a head coaching job and like leaves, then you better take Robert Saleh, put him in that office, lock the door, and run, because you do not let Saleh out of the building if for some reason Hafley's gone.
If we can't have Hafley, Saleh is ours.
No, then you lock him in, pay him whatever he wants, and don't let the defense fall behind, right?
Right, we finally have a decent defense. Please.
Yeah,
please.
Right? All right. So beyond that, little other tidbits of news for you. I did want to go over the playoff scenario. I mentioned it yesterday. Packers win, and they're in. Now, seeding, of course, not yet determined. There's still 3 games to go. But this coming weekend, if the Packers beat the Saints, they're in. It's just that simple. But even if they don't beat the Saints, there are 2 other scenarios that could clinch a playoff spot for them. Neither one's great. Neither one is likely, but they do exist. So one of those would be an Atlanta Falcons loss or tie and a Rams loss or tie. So that's one scenario. Another scenario would be an Atlanta loss or tie and a Seattle loss or tie. Now, if you're thinking about like, how likely are those? Atlanta is playing the Giants. So probably not great to start, right? But then you've got the Rams who are at the Jets, and you've got Seattle going against Minnesota. So maybe those scenarios aren't the most likely, but they do exist. Doesn't really matter, though. For the Packers' purposes, win, and you clinch a spot. I also want to talk about the fact that the NFC North is still possible to obtain. Also not likely at all, but it is possible.
Right?
So
disclaimer.
Yes.
This is not easy. It is not likely to happen.
We are overall an optimistic show, but this is asking a bit much. So basically what would have to happen for the Green Bay Packers to win the division, and I got this from a couple of different sources who wrote articles on this, and they all agreed, like they're breaking down all the tiebreakers or whatever. This is what has to happen. The Packers have to win out. Okay, they got to win their final 3. The Vikings have to lose their next 2, 16 and 17. And of course, they're going against the Packers in 17, so that marries nicely. And the Lions have to lose in 16 and 17. But what about week 18, you ask? Well, of course, the Packers have to win. In week 18, the Vikings and Lions are playing each other. If either one wins that game, it knocks the Packers out of the crown. So what we have to hope for is a week 18 tie between the Lions and Vikings. What would then happen is both of those teams wind up with a 12-4-1 record, and the Packers, after winning out, get to 13-4. That's the only way that the Packers can win the division. So, what is your ideal rooting guide for this weekend? Packers got to win. It is better for the Packers to stay above the 7 seed. In order to get help with that, the Eagles should beat the Commanders. Okay. It would be ideal if the Bears beat the Lions. If the Seahawks, if the Seahawks beat the Vikings, and just from a personal preference, because I'd rather go against the Seahawks in the playoffs than the Rams, the Jets beating the Rams. That is your ideal Week 16 scenario. We will see if that comes to fruition or not.
Right. We need to have a little ticker.
Right?
Yeah. Do just nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, it's not the most likely path, but hey, it's out there. And then one last thing that I just wanted to update you on, as I always do on Wednesdays, because on Friday will be the preview for Packers versus Saints. But just to give you a little taste, New Orleans, little bit of a struggle bus team right now. And yeah, they got a lot of injuries on offense, so not shocking. But just to give you an idea where they are on the year, their rushing defense is giving up 134.4 yards per game on the ground. It's 27th in the NFL. Their passing defense is giving up 243.2 yards per game through the air, 28th in the NFL. Yes, 27 and 28, that's bad. Then rushing offense, they're getting 124.2 yards per game on the ground. That's 11th. And passing offense, they're getting 210.2, which is 20th in the NFL. And if you're wondering if that number's gone down since Derek Carr left, it has. We'll talk about those trends on Friday. So there you go. That is the news and notes around the Green Bay Packers. Captain Kebbles, what you got?
Go, Pack, go.
Hey, that's a good thing to have. And
isn't New Orleans where the Super Bowl is being hosted?
well, I do believe.
We've looked it up once before.
Yeah, and it's not like we're going, so I'm not looking at flights or anything like that.
Right.
But I'm fairly certain because it's all serendipitous with the Packers in '96. And yes, yeah, I do believe it's in New Orleans. So there you go. New Orleans, it would be nice. Oh, and yeah, Kendrick Lamar's doing the halftime show. Well, there you go, Captain Kebbles. So that is it. That's the news and notes. Now, join us on Friday afternoon as I go through. Oh, yeah, Big Al, what you got?
Random Packer MD Jennings, hence the Fail Mary.
You know, funny story about MD Jennings. We vendored at a card show this last weekend. I had 2 people buy autographed MD Jennings 8x10 pictures of the Fail Mary from me this weekend. I think it was just because they were going against Seattle. I wasn't going to complain about the sale, but it was one of the more odd sales that I've had in a while. But yeah, MD Jennings. What a man. All right.
And on that note.
Yes. All right, everybody. Time for us to jump on out of here. Now, on Friday, Packers, Saints preview. And then, of course, next Monday night, watch party.
No
watch party. I'm sorry. No, this is the one we can't do because of Christmas. I'm sorry. No watch party.
Shame.
On Monday. My bad. Too much going on. Kevin Kebbles, what you got before I go?
Not like we were going, I don't know, man. If we make the Super Bowl next year, got to get everyone to it so I can see reactions live. Joking, maybe, probably not joking. If you're buying tickets, we will gladly go.
Absolutely. We're just poor, so it's not going to happen. But the Packers, they stand a pretty decent chance to go this year. The playoff run is going to be a gladiator style run, but they're positioned well to do it. All right, everybody, do hope you're having a great week. I will see you on Friday. And as always, go Pack, go.